Very good morning, dear children. How are you all doing? Very fine, I suppose. And hope you are going through this time and taking all precaution. Be good, be safe, be at home. I think we all trying to fight it out, and we are positive we'll fight it out. Brave, brave children. Okay, before we start, we need to thank God. Just closing our eyes, seeing the videos before we start. Just close your eyes and just 1 minute pray for the Almighty and thank Him for every lovely thing that come across. And just yesterday was your Mother's Day. I hope you all have wished your mother and have given her some beautiful present from your side, maybe a card or a hug. Okay. Here we go. Relax yourself. So, let's begin our session today. So, the last session we were talking about the women revolution. We already talked that how your Robespierre was taken, executed, then a new form of government was formed, and there was lot of ups and down in that. Or the electors were continuously in fight with the legislative council, so that governments also didn't work well. But in between that, as we see after Robespierre's death, there were many things that were happening simultaneously in France. Two of the major point of discussion was a women revolution. The women over there were not given that much of place in the election system, but they were very much an active participant, as I already told you in the previous session, very much. But when the system of your election was there, they were taken as a passive citizen. They were not allowed to vote. So that hurted the feeling of your women over there. They demanded rather, right to vote, to be elected in the assembly. Now we start from here, that how the revolutionary government did introduce laws that helped improve the lives of the women. Now things were a bit better for them. So by creating state schools, so schooling was made compulsory. Such a positive point, compulsory. Fathers could not force them into marriage. So marriage was like, earlier it was forced. You're very young, they were getting married. No, nothing of that sort. Then divorce was made legal and could be applied by any, both men and women. So if you don't want to stay, you can move on. Women could now train for jobs, could become artists, or run a small business even. So now that means women were getting empowered. They are free now to move. But anyway, again, it's not equal political rights continue. They were still not allowed to vote. It took a lot of time. Many prominent women were arrested by this time. Many were executed during this time. So the women right for voting, they kept on fighting for that, and finally 1946. See the year, it's 1946. We're not talking about 1846 even. We're talking about 1946. Finally, women in France got right to vote. So it was a long battle by women of France to snatch their rights, to fight for their rights, and to stand strong. By this time, you have another very important thing that was going in France was the slave system. The slave system was very much there. The people were taken for the work that they were doing, the French merchants were doing in the other colonies, like in American colonies and the other African side. So, but one point came that the Europeans were not ready to work in the Caribbean. which were important suppliers of commodities such as tobacco, indigo, sugar, and coffee. This was a place. I hope you know where is Caribbean island. You can search and just you can mark it in your world map. You will become more clearer that when the colonies of American colonies were taken, there were many of the people from this region who went over there and started settling, and because they were into your tobacco plantation, indigo plantation, sugar plantation, and coffee plantation, so you required men to work. So what happened? There was a shortage of labor when the Europeans said they're not willing to go to Caribbean so far to work. Now they wanted people to work, isn't it? So where do they get these people? So therefore the slave trade begins. So this is a very important line. You should remember that what was the need of the slaves and how actually they came up. So the slaves were required to work, or the people, we will not first name it as slave, let's say it like simple people, were required to work in the plantations of your tobacco, indigo, sugar, and coffee towards the Caribbean part of the world. And the Europeans were not ready to go, so they want people, so they started picking up from where. So the merchants started sailing from their ports, and you should know these two ports, very important, Bothioks and Nantes. So owned their prosperity to the slave trade. So these were the two slave ports, fine, and they were going where? African coast. Why they went to the African coast? To buy slaves from the local chieftains. And what they were told, that they're taking these people for some work, and the chieftains were very good, so they provided them with a lot of people. But as soon as the slaves were taken, they were in the ship, they were branded, shackled, and tightly packed in ships, and it was a voyage used to be like of 3 months long voyage in the Atlantic to the Caribbean. I hope you know where is Atlantic Ocean. So from your European side, you are moving towards your Caribbean side or towards your North America. So a very far off side. So this what happened, and then they were the slaves were sold to the plantation owners. Now when you are left in Caribbean, you can't even dream of coming back from there. So the people that you see in North America, South America, mainly the black peoples, were all your descendants of your Africa. So this exploitation, whether possible to meet their demand, this exploitation was met with the little criticism. There was not much criticism in Europe about it. Okay, fine, they're going for the work, and what's actually happening over there, nobody was bothered. So the slavery or your slave system was flourishing rather. So mainly the people, the merchants, the traders were taking the people from your African continents, and they were selling them in the Caribbean side or other parts of your America for the plantation. They were getting very good money because all this plantation have their percentage of profit also. The National Assembly held long debates for about whether the rights of the man should be extended to all French subjects, including those in colonies. Now the Assembly was thinking that when our French people are going out to this Caribbean island and the American colonies, the Assembly's part, the constitutional part, should carry on there also. But anyways, that was somehow not passed. So because the businessmen knew if they start interfering, the National Assembly, it's going to cost them, and they are going to lose a lot of profit. So they rather ignored this part, and it was not taken up that seriously. So we need to understand the importance of the slave trade from where it started. This question can come, so you can just pen it down, that how it started and why it started. In 1794, Jacobean regime slavery was abolished, but with time, when the Jacobins came, then it was abolished. But again, after 10 years, 1794, and then 10 years, Napoleon, when he took over the power, he again reintroduced slavery. And finally in 1848 slavery was abolished in French colonies. So this is the history of your slavery and the way the slaves used to lead their life. So you can say it is very much uh, uh, linked up with the French Revolution, this passing of people from one area to another. So it's a part of your French Revolution. So the revolution saw what new things. So now I'll come very hurriedly. I'll just give you some major points where you see the revolution bringing such immense and some progressive changes for the people of France. The first one was after storming of Bastille, the summer of 1789, the abolition of censorship. That means the old regime gone. Now everything that doesn't need an approval from your king. A very important abolition of censorship. Second, the Declaration of Right of Man and Citizen proclaimed freedom of speech and expression to be a natural right. Now, after the king almost moving, now the people said that there should be freedom of speech and expression as a very natural right. It's a born right. So if I am good, I should be allowed to speak, and I should be allowed to even take over if I can be a leader. So this was another new change in France. The third one, newspaper, pamphlets, books, and printed pictures all flooded the town. So now the education was in thing in France. So what was happening, that people started discussing, debating, meeting in salons, sitting in coffee homes, and talking about philosophers, talking about books, talking about many things. And even the traveling enhanced the system of interaction. They started believing that what others are doing, and we can also grow ourselves. Then this gave birth to the freedom of press. Very important. Opposing views could also be discussed. And one more interesting thing that can be seen in France after this revolution was picking up. There was plays, songs, festive processions for the commoners, the third estate people who were almost ignored. Only the clergies and the nobles and the monarch used to have a good time, but now the things were little different for them. So they used to play songs and have a festive procession, attract a large number of people. This gave to the idea of liberty and justice. So see, another big point coming up, that the ideas of liberty and justice, that everybody is equal, let's be together, everybody should be given the right. And that's another new things, okay, that came up. Otherwise, owned by a handful of educated people could read this text. So these are the four points. If the question comes that what changes were made by the revolution in everyday's life, you can pick up this: abolition of censorship, freedom of speech, newspaper, rather freedom of press, then play songs and festive procession. Then you can elaborate on this. Now we come to a man who again changed a lot of things in France. He took over in 1804. So all this time after Jacobean, the new government formed, the things were going on. He was a general, and when he took the power, he told that he's the emperor of the France. He crowned himself as the emperor of the France. So Napoleon crowned himself as the emperor of France. He conquered many neighboring countries, plus placed many members of his family on the crown. Napoleon saw his role as a modernizer of Europe. And even people started believing that he is a modernizer of Europe. So what he introduced some laws like protection of private properties, a uniform system of weights, measures provided by decimal system. He was very much welcomed, people called him as a liberator who would bring freedom for the people. But with gradual time, it was seen that his Napoleonic armies were viewed everywhere as an invading force, so interference of the armed forces of his people was very much there among the commoners, among the business class, and the lawyers. So wherever they used to be, his people were there around. So actually, the freedom of speech rights was taken during this time again of Napoleon time. So people were offended, so they wanted to defend Napoleon, and he was finally defeated at the Waterloo in 1850. Not a long time he ruled France and took over, but yeah, it was a good time of 10 years. So he managed and he did well, but his policy didn't work, so he was also almost gone from France. So now at the end, one question that comes to our mind was the legacy of French Revolution. So what is it? So what it gave to the world? What it actually gave to the world? It gave many things to the France, but what it gave to the world? So ideas of liberty and democracy. And this question is very important, legacy of French Revolution. So idea of liberty and democratic rights. This idea spread from France to the rest of the Europe during the 19th century, where feudal systems were abolished. Monarchy was abolished in Europe, and whole Europe was actually charged up and actually managed by the monarchs only. But after the French Revolution, the other small countries, the bigger countries of Europe and around, understood that this is not right. Fine. So one big change after French Revolution around the world, around the globe. Then another thing that happened, like Indian revolutionary strugglers like Tipu Sultan, Raja Ram Mohan, also adopted his idea. And the idea of this liberty, equality, fraternity was all taken from them. So a question on this is pretty important, and it does come. So you are going to write that what the French Revolution actually gave to the world, legacy of the French Revolution. So here I almost have completed the chapter, but there are a few things that will be coming up in the next session. But for time today, your small IP that you need to do is, naturally all your important terms by now should be in your copies. What you are going to actually search, which I think we have already discussed a little bit, but not about Jane, Paul, Marat, and Olympe de Gouache and Napoleon. So she is a woman of a French Revolution, the Women Revolution. She worked hard and she fought for the laws of the women. She came up with a new laws of the women. And what was her role? That's what you actually have to search, and it's all given in your NCERT book. So if you pick up your NCERT book, you will find about her also on page number. You will find her on page number 19. So you can search about her. Marat also, it's there. He was an editor. He was a journalist. What he did, Napoleon, as I was discussing. So very small short notes of at least 50 words. Make a block and write about them. On page number 20 are very important activities there. We should not miss it, because all these activities that's given in your NCERTs are very important. The next session will be I'm going to discuss only the question answers. So compare the manifesto drafted by the Olympe de Gouache with the Declaration of the Right of Man and Citizen. It's given on your page number 20, the activity. Find out both the ways out. You will get in your NCERT book only. Read it, then write it in your own words. Change a little bit the lines and then write. So for today, this is here I finish off. Thank you very much. Go through the notes again. I will attach all the notes of French Revolution now. It will be a great help for you that you go through the notes as well as your NCRT book, word to word, line to line, read it. Then only you will understand that, uh, then only it will be easy for you to understand all the concept and the points that I have taken in all this session till now. The next session will be totally on the question answer, some relevant one words, important lines. Here we meet next week. Take good care of yourself. Be good, be happy, and enjoy. Thank you very much, children. Bye bye.